Skinny spazoid. One of the coolest things about the Marvel Universe is that we have the original 616 universe as a reference. When seeing other universes, we can see how our beloved characters fare in different situations and environments. This allows us to see a different side of these characters, both revealing and fun. Marvel has a slew of these universes and has played around with these ideas in their What If publication. These following entries list my personal favorites and basically the alternate versions of these characters that I think are the most cool. Number 10. Whitebeard Hulk that is ballistic. This is a version of Hulk that comes from Hulk Future Imperfect. This Hulk found himself in a nuclear war that killed most of the people of his planet. This causes him to become enraged, and he becomes an authoritarian leader of a city in this world, dystopia. Just look at this guy. I mean, he looks fierce, and the idea of a Hulk who doesn't have the same tight bonds to humanity is very interesting. This Hulk is even more uninhibited than the normal counterpart, but his dedication to good despite all of this shows what a true hero he really is. Number 9. Black Cat 2099. This one is pretty freaky, and I feel like Marvel almost made Black Cat into a Metal Gear character. This Black Cat is one that was created by the company Alchemats as a kind of bodyguard for their building. This Black Cat is a clone of Felicia Hardy, who is programmed with agoraphobia and can't leave the building she protects without collapsing in fear because of her phobia. She is considered very violent, even too violent to be used as anything but a bodyguard. Also, other clones were made called Sisters. This is a cool version of the Black Cat, as she is still troubled emotionally, but based solely on her condition involving her birth. This Black Cat is born as a weapon and lives a life in deep isolation. It makes her feel very primal, almost like a caged panther. Number 8. Fantastic 5 Human Torch. This version of the Human Torch has him in a much more serious position. This Human Torch becomes a sort of de facto leader after Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman become trapped in the negative zone. While not overly serious, the Human Torch finds himself in some tight situations. He has a bit of an argument with Mr. Fantastic as he comes back from the negative zone that causes him to think about his own leadership and whether or not he should leave the team and create his own. This serious side of Johnny Storm is revealing because it shows that there is a very complicated man underneath all of his boyish charm. This is similar to the Human Torch solo series that I also liked, where we get a better characterization of who Johnny really is. Similar to the Hulk, it also shows that despite dire consequences, Johnny can be a hero, which is valiant. Number 7. Zombie Spider-Man. After talks of valiance, I think it's time for one of the most shocking and disturbing versions of a character in the Marvel Universe. This universe is a version of the Marvel Universe where a deadly contagion turns all the characters into zombies. Spider-Man gets one of the most brutal treatments as he turns into a zombie right before his beloved Aunt May and Mary Jane. When going back to his house to bring these two to safety, The zombie contagion starts to work on him, and he becomes his own worst nightmare. After he and Mary Jane turn into zombies, he starts eating Aunt May and kills Mary Jane. Number 6. Iron Man Movie Universe. This one may seem like an odd choice as it is not from a comic book, but a movie. However, despite this fact, I think that it is worthy as it is probably the best characterization of Iron Man from any medium. This story highlighted all of the eccentric aspects of Iron Man that make him fun. Iron Man is a troubled man, often looking for recognition and creating the Iron Man suit out of necessity. Robert Downey Jr. really adds a lot with his wacky personality that is fitting for someone who is always working on science but still is exploding inside with youthful energy. Number 5. Old Man Logan. This is a story where the supervillains win and heroes are scarce in the world. All that is left is a scarce number of superheroes, including an elderly Logan fighting in a superhero resistance. Wolverine's character has always been one where he is a tough guy getting by despite the brutal circumstances. This is maybe the most brutal story Marvel has put Wolverine through, as tension piles up in an old man who needs to keep on going. A sort of dark fantasy of Wolverine, this story shows how his troubled nature can still be positive for humanity despite even the most dire situation. Number 4. Wolverine Noir. Another alternate version of Wolverine. This time he's in the 1920s. This version of Wolverine is a detective and a bootlegger, about as noir as you can make Wolverine. This version has Logan in a kind of messed up world, as a lot of the story we see a kind of isolated man, not with the contrast of being in the X-Men. This is sort of what Wolverine would be like as a hard-boiled private eye. Wolverine is, however, one of the more normal characters in the story, and goes to show just how he can keep his cool when other characters may break down. Number 3. 1602 Magneto. This time called Enrique the Grand Inquisitor. This Magneto comes from a universe where the characters are all born in the 1600s. This version of Magneto is also very sad, as he is born in a Jewish ghetto in Venice. Later, he is taken in by a Catholic priest, which turns him into a Christian. This time Magneto is a kind of old sage that is secretly a corrupt politician, sending out his kids to spy on the Vatican and doing favors for King James of Scotland. Number 2. Ultimate Spider-Man. This is one of Marvel's most famous and successful alternate universes. The Ultimate Universe was a genuine attempt by Marvel to reboot their beloved franchises and retell their stories. Probably the most acclaimed reboot was Ultimate Spider-Man. This was because this version of Spider-Man felt very personal and almost like an old friend. This Spider-Man went through many of the same trials as the original Spider-Man, with exceptions, of course. What made this Spider-Man so great was just how close we could feel to him. We already knew a lot about who he was and what would happen, which gave the story a different edge, where events like the Goblin's appearance was able to be powerful, even though in the story the characters didn't have a good idea of what was really going on. Number 1. Age of Apocalypse Nightcrawler. This is my favorite alternate version of a character because Marvel turned Nightcrawler into a complete badass. Just look at this guy, I mean, he looks vicious. This version of Nightcrawler is a kind of secret weapon of Magneto, who is the good guy in this universe, by the way. What's great is that besides this, he still feels very much like an independent agent, and he's able to gain control of situations and survive. This is probably the most amazing version of Nightcrawler, as it shows that although he won't if he doesn't need to, he can use his intelligence to come on top just by himself.